Across to Rosarito, Mexico, where we're joined by our friend Thomas Markle, the father of the Duchess of Sussex.
That Meghan Markle has lied about her age. Is she actually?
You're prepared to testify for Samantha against Meghan? Is that correct?
Absolutely.
What if the biggest royal story wasn't a story at all? What if it was a lie? A lie hidden for decades, tucked away in a dusty teen magazine. A single line of text, forgotten, until now. A line that could rewrite everything. For years, the story of Meghan Markle has been polished to perfection. A Hollywood dream. A fairy tale that landed her inside Buckingham Palace. Born in 1981, or so the entire world has been told. But now, an explosive claim comes from the one man who should know. Her own father, Thomas Markle. And he says the math, it just doesn't add up. When a father publicly challenges his own daughter's truth, on camera, it stops being family drama. It becomes a public reckoning, a jaw-dropping scandal that shakes two nations, because what he's suggesting isn't a small slip. It doesn't just tweak a date. It doesn't shave off a simple month. He is alleging a rewrite of 6 entire years of her life. 6 years. Years that shaped her image, her career, the entire royal fairy tale that was built around her. And the evidence? It's not buried in some deep, dark royal archive. It's sitting in plain sight. Ink on paper. Page 90, 17 magazine. March 1997, that one line lists Meghan Markle as 21 years old. But wait, if her official birth year is 1981, she should have been 15. 15. Or 21? Which one is it? Because that gap, that 6-year gap, it doesn't just raise eyebrows. It cracks the very foundation of her carefully crafted identity. And when the man who raised her is the one pointing out those cracks, it forces everyone, even the palace, to ask, what's real? What's been rewritten? And who's been holding the pen all along? When Thomas Markle speaks, the world listens. Not because he's a royal insider, but because he is the man who watched Meghan grow up, long before the crowns.
To be honest with you, I love both my daughters. I'm not happy with what one of my daughters is doing. And I don't know what caused her to do this. We've had this conversation before.
Before the cameras, he says he loves both his daughters, but he's not happy. He's not happy with what one of them is doing. He claims he doesn't know what caused her to do this. He says she's telling lies. For years, the press painted him as the estranged father, the one left behind, the one abandoned when his daughter crossed the threshold into royal life. But now, he's something else entirely. He's a whistleblower. A whistleblower from inside her own past. It started quietly. Insiders claim he was just dropping hints in interviews from his home in Rosarito, Mexico. Thomas would bring up tiny, forbidden details. Little contradictions. Things most people just brushed off as harmless slips. But lately, his tone has shifted. It's colder. It's sharper. It is deliberate. He's not just hinting anymore. He's saying it outright. Something about Meghan's story is wrong. And he claims he has the receipts to prove it. When asked directly about his daughter's official 1981 birth year, he didn't even hesitate. The math doesn't work. He said it, voice calm, but cutting. And that one sentence lit a match. This isn't just a father questioning a date on a birth certificate. This is a father suggesting that the entire royal narrative, the timelines, the official biographies, the Netflix-level interviews, might just be built on a carefully managed illusion. His tone wasn't bitter. It was tired. The kind of tired that comes from watching the truth bend too far. And here's what makes his words sting even more. Thomas Markle doesn't sound like a man chasing attention. He sounds, critics say, like a man just trying to set the record straight. He worked behind the cameras his entire life. Lighting, production, editing. He knows exactly how stories are built. He knows how reality can be shaped, frame by single frame. And when he looks at his daughter's story, he sees cuts that just don't line up. No public confirmation.
Every single thing that she has said about either you or Meghan has checked out factually. And she is now suing Meghan.
As of now, but the story gets darker. He's even agreed to testify in Samantha Markle's lawsuit against Meghan. Testify, under oath. That's not a tabloid squabble. That is family blood turning into public evidence. So when Thomas Markle says his daughter isn't who the palace presents her to be, it hits differently. It's not just gossip from some online forum. It's a father's accusation, wrapped in heartbreak, wrapped in disbelief. And it lands like a warning shot fired straight at the royal gates. He claims Samantha Markle has never told him a lie. He claims everything she has said about Meghan has checked out, factually. And now, she is suing Meghan. If Thomas is right, this isn't just another family feud. It's the first crack in the royal fairy tale itself. It all began with a single page, page 90, a 1997 issue of 17 magazine. Nothing special, just a light glossy spread. It was about up-and-coming young women in entertainment. But one line changed everything. Meghan Markle, 21 years old. On its own, it's barely a sentence. But to anyone who's seen the official royal biography, that number detonates like dynamite. If Meghan was truly born in 1981, then in 1997 she would have been 15. Maybe 16, but not 21. That's not a rounding mistake. That's not a typo. That's an entire school year, a driver's license, and half a decade of life completely missing. The discovery didn't come from the palace. It didn't come from reporters. It came from ordinary people, digital detectives, scrolling through archived magazines, zooming in on that faded print, until one line jumped out. Like a ghost from the past, someone posted it online. Another verified the scan. And before long, the internet had a new explosive obsession. How old? Is Meghan Markle, really? At first, fans thought it had to be a misprint. A mistake. Maybe the magazine confused her with someone else. But the longer they looked, the harder it was to dismiss. The article had her full name, her hometown, even her early acting ambitions. Details that fit perfectly with her real biography. The only thing that didn't fit was the number. That's when the questions started multiplying. If a simple teen magazine could list her age so differently, what else might have been adjusted? What else might have been managed along the way? Was this just a one-off editorial mistake? Or was it the first public glimpse of a story rewritten years before the palace ever entered the picture? Because when you line it all up, the official birth year, the university records, the old interviews, the seams, they start to show. Timelines blur, milestones overlap, and that single line of text begins to look less like a typo and more like a window into a different version of Meghan's life. The detail that makes it all more haunting, that magazine still exists. You can flip through it today. The ink hasn't faded. The date hasn't changed. The question it raises, that's what refuses to die. And once that question is out in the open, it leads straight to a much darker pattern. One that stretches from glossy pages all the way to royal paperwork. Once you start noticing one inconsistency, others suddenly appear, like hidden ink, revealed under a blacklight. And for Meghan Markle, critics allege those little edits, those quiet erasures, they form a pattern too sharp to ignore. The 17 magazine mystery might have opened the door, but what came next pushed it wide open. Because it's not the only document that has reportedly changed over time. Even official royal paperwork, the kind that's supposed to be untouchable, has quietly been rewritten. Take Archie's birth certificate. When it was first filed, it listed Meghan's full name. Rachel Meghan Markle, straightforward, formal, correct, but just a few weeks later, that record was quietly altered. Her given names vanished. The new version listed only her royal title, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. No public explanation, no royal statement, no press release, just changed. The palace brushed it off. They called it a clerical adjustment, something about consistency with royal style. But those who follow royal protocol, they know. They know how rare that kind of edit really is. Royal records are historical artifacts. They don't just get tweaked for aesthetics. Every comma, every title, it's approved, it's logged, it's archived. To change one after the fact, it raises a simple but chilling question: why? What would you have done in her place? Would you have demanded the change or left it alone? When you stack that next to Thomas Markle's explosive claims, the picture gets murkier. Because if something is sacred, as a royal birth certificate, can shift, then what's stopping a birth date from 40 years ago from doing the same? It's not proof. No public confirmation has been made, but it's a pattern. Tiny corrections that conveniently reshape the story. Words removed. Dates that wobble. A biography polished until it gleams. And some critics say until it no longer looks real. To the palace, these might be minor details. But to the public, they are fractures. Fractures in the facade. The monarchy runs on precision, heritage, lineage, legitimacy. So when details start bending, trust starts breaking, and that's where the unease grows. Because every new clerical edit feels less like maintenance and more like management, image management. And once people suspect a royal record can be rewritten, they start wondering how much of the royal fairy tale is still fact and how much is just a well-edited script. Before Meghan Markle was a Duchess, she was a Hollywood actress, and in Hollywood, truth has always been flexible. Age, height, even backstories. They get rewritten every single day to fit a role, to land a headline, to make a name shine just a little brighter. Out there in that world, reinvention isn't deception. It's survival. Casting directors have whispered it for decades. Once an actress turns 30, half the scripts vanish. You're no longer the ingenue. You're no longer the romantic lead. You're suddenly the supporting role. The sister, the boss, the one giving advice instead of stealing the scene. So what do young actresses do? They adapt. Or more accurately, they shave. A few years off here. A new story there. A clean slate that opens new doors. If that 17 magazine listing was accurate, Meghan wouldn't have been a bright-eyed 20-something fighting her way in. She would have been closer to 30, seasoned, determined, and facing a brutal system that punishes age more than failure. In that world, 6 years isn't just a number. It's a ticket. A ticket to more auditions, younger roles, and a much longer career runway. This doesn't mean she forged a double life. It means critics claim she may have learned early that image is everything. A lesson that fits Hollywood perfectly, but clashes violently with royal tradition. In the entertainment world, reinvention is admired. In the monarchy, it's heresy. Royals are expected to be constants, fixed in time, tied to titles, unchanging by design. So when Meghan crossed from casting calls to coronets, that Hollywood instinct, the need to control perception, it might have followed her. Not maliciously, but habitually. A small rewrite here, a quiet correction there. The kind that would have gone unnoticed in Los Angeles. But in London, under the white-hot glare of royal scrutiny, it becomes a front-page scandal. Smart move for her career, or a reckless gamble with her future. Because in Hollywood, editing your story makes you marketable. In the monarchy, it makes you suspicious. And that's why this isn't just a story about a date of birth. It's about two worlds colliding, one that thrives on reinvention, and one that punishes it. And when those two worlds meet inside the same person, something is bound to break. Inside Buckingham Palace, everything is choreography. The smiles, the waves, even the pauses between words. All timed to perfection. Nothing leaks. Nothing bends. Nothing happens without a reason. The royal image is built like marble, solid, timeless, uncracked. But the moment a single detail starts to wobble, even something as small as a birth year, that illusion begins to tremble. For the monarchy, facts aren't just trivia. They are the foundation of legitimacy. Birth dates confirm lineage. Titles trace history. Every single document is a thread in the royal fabric. Tug one out, and the whole tapestry starts to shift. That's why these whispers, these explosive whispers about Meghan's true age, sting far beyond celebrity gossip. They hit the palace where it hurts the most, in its credibility. Imagine the optics. A royal institution that prides itself on precision, suddenly facing questions it can't, or won't, easily answer. The palace thrives on control. Every headline, every public statement, carefully balanced between tradition and diplomacy. But when the story itself becomes unpredictable, that control slips. And once control slips, so does trust. That's the danger. That's the ticking time bomb Thomas Markle's comments created. His accusations didn't just question his daughter. They invited the world to question the monarchy's gatekeeping. If Meghan's timeline is even slightly off, it suggests the palace either didn't know or they didn't care. Both options, are disastrous. Royal insiders reportedly dread this kind of narrative because it spreads faster than any official denial. 1,000 years of history can survive wars. It can survive scandals, but it cannot survive doubt. The monarchy's power isn't built on force anymore. It's built on belief. The belief that royal facts are sacred, unchangeable. And once the public suspects that even a single fact has been managed, that belief begins to fracture. No public confirmation has been issued on any of these matters. What began as a line in a magazine is now a stress test for an entire institution, because if something as simple as a birthday can blur under the palace's watch, people start wondering, what else? What else might have been softened, spun, or erased along the way? And that's when the story stops being about one duchess and starts becoming a referendum on the crown itself. Once the internet got involved, the story stopped belonging to the palace. It stopped belonging to Meghan too. From Reddit threads to TikTok compilations, the mystery of her real age became an open source investigation. Part gossip, part detective work, part cultural sport. It started small. A few users digging through archives, posting screenshots of the 17 magazine page. Then someone matched it with her university graduation photos, comparing classmates, yearbooks, old rosters. Within days, timelines, theories, and evidence boards were spreading across every corner of social media. The narrative was no longer controlled by the royals. It was being crowdsourced by millions of curious strangers. They combed through old interviews, noticing inconsistencies most people had missed. A casting director who mentioned working with a late 20s actress. A journalist's note describing Meghan as nearly 30 in an article written long before she supposedly was. Even minor details, hairstyles, fashion trends, film release years, they all became data points. Fans weren't scrolling anymore. They were investigating, and when something gets this viral, truth becomes secondary to momentum. For every fact-checker who tried to calm the storm, 10 more new findings surfaced, fanning the flames all over again. People posted side-by-side images. Meghan with her Northwestern classmates, some born in the early 70s. They argued the math just didn't match. Others cross-referenced alumni directories, claiming her name appeared in categories meant for older students. TikTok turned the saga into entertainment. Dramatic voiceovers, red circles on photos, captions like, "Did Meghan lie about her age?" racked up millions of views. Suddenly, this wasn't a royal rumor. It was a digital scavenger hunt. The more the palace stayed silent, the louder the internet got. Every unanswered question became proof of something bigger. Silence to the online world reads like guilt. And by the time traditional media caught up, the theory had already taken on a life of its own. Because in the internet era, perception is reality. And no institution, not even a 1,000-year-old monarchy, can outpace a viral timeline. And what came next would only make things worse. Because if the internet thrives on chaos, Meghan's silence was the perfect fuel. In the royal world, silence is strategy. It's the art of waiting. Waiting for a scandal to die out on its own. But in the digital age, silence doesn't calm the storm. It feeds it. And Meghan Markle's silence has become the loudest part of this story. From the moment Thomas Markle's claims resurfaced, the palace said nothing, no denials, no clarifications, not even a vague sources close to the Duchess statement. It was radio silence. Classic royal protocol. Meant to project dignity, meant to project restraint. But on the internet, silence isn't interpreted as grace. It's taken as guilt. Every single day, without a response, became another spark for speculation. Commentators framed it as proof. Proof that Meghan had something to hide. Fans defended her, arguing that dignified restraint was her only option. And between those two sides, the debate mutated. It turned into chaos. One side